4. And this segment is about the benefits of special time for you. And I think one of the benefits of special time is that it's a practice in which you may not multitask. And most of us are pressured and stressed and have so many things that we feel we must do, and indeed we must, sometime or another, that we tend to do many things at once, hoping that that will lighten our load or that we will get somewhere. What scientific research shows us is that multitasking actually is a very inefficient way of working, that if you really want to do a good job, as quickly as you can, you will do one thing at a time. And I really encourage parents to do one thing at a time, to choose what you're going to do, and then mentally, inside your mind, to back yourself. Back yourself on what you decided to do. The temptation is, and the pitfall for parents is, that as soon as you start washing the dishes, you feel like, oh, the kids really haven't had very much attention today, and there they are, and they're squirrely. I should be paying attention to the kids, but here I am washing dishes. So you might stop washing dishes and go pay attention to the kids, but while you're doing that, it's like, oh, my kitchen is such a mess. If someone came over, they would be frightened at what's happening in my house. I really should wash the dishes. And then back you go again. And then while you're washing the dishes, it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't done a load of diapers. What are we going to do? And you leave the dishes and you run go do the diapers. But while you're doing that, it's like, oh, I wish I could pay more attention to my children. And so we are undermining our own judgment over and over and over again in the hurry to try to meet all expectations. So the benefit of special time is that you make a little promise to yourself, a little vow, that for whatever period of time that is, you will not multitask. You won't notice the little thingies on the carpet, and you won't try to put things away, and you won't care if what your child wants to do is pull every can out of the kitchen and make a structure with all the cans. It's like you're going to allow it, you're going to pay attention, you're going to furnish delight, and you'll deal with the next thing when it's time to deal with the next thing. This is a great refresher for our minds. It's very, very useful to pay attention to one person and one thing and to care about them during that time. So that's one of the ways that special time is really helpful to us. It allows us to love our children the way we always thought we wanted to. It really allows us, a break from all the things that run around in our minds and all the expectations that surround us. So that's one of the big benefits of special time. Another one is that children oftentimes spot where we have lost our courage, or where we have given up, or where we won't go, where we've kind of cut off a part of the world. And once we've built up the practice of special time, then they start to push on us where we have a hard time going. There's one time I was at a workshop where we do special time, and then we have lots of play for children, and we listen to their feelings when the feelings come up. And one of the children at the workshop, one of the ones who really had a fairly difficult life. He had a fairly difficult beginning, and his mom was a single mom, and she'd had a rough beginning too there. And she was not in good physical shape at all. And what he decided to do with all these people around and all this extra resource, all this extra encouragement to be bold with special time, he asked his mom to run around after him. And he ran around and around, the workshop site over and over. He must have, encouraged his mom to run at least 1.5 miles. And she was huffing and puffing along, trying really hard to do special time exactly what he wanted. And he had picked out the exact thing that was the last thing in the world she wanted to do. And bless her heart, she did it. I know another mom whose children had, who actually had been abused as a child. She had. And she was trying to build the connection with her boys. And she couldn't, because she was a single mom, she couldn't often do special time with them individually. But she would say, okay, together, what do you want to do? I'll play what you want to play. Which is not special time, it's close, it's not. So you do want to get one-on-one time, but it's not a bad thing to do when you have a couple children. And what they wanted was to play bucking broncos. They both wanted to be on her back, and they wanted her to buck them. And that amount of physical contact, and the fact that they were boys and she had been physically abused by a male, all of that just rang lots of emotional bells in her mind, and she just felt awful while doing this, bucking bronco play that they wanted. And in order to help herself, she just cried. She just was a bucking bronco, and she cried. And she didn't cry and wail, she didn't cry and complain, she just let the tears fall while she did what would help her connect with her boys. Now, she limited it to like 5 minutes at a time so that she wouldn't wind up feeling resentful or burdened, but she could release the feelings and do the thing that they just loved, that, sort of went against it meant that she had to challenge the ways in which she was hurt. So that's another benefit, is that you find out where your child thinks you need to change, and they will instigate that kind of change in special time. And then if you've got a listening partnership going, you can take your feelings about what your child is asking you to do in special time and work on them there, and you'll find that your range of motion and the number of places and the number of activities in which you feel relaxed is going to increase, because your children are seeing to it that it does. They're nudging you in directions you wouldn't go by yourself. So the world gets bigger, and you get to work on unease until things are easier for you, which is a big boon to parents. The reason that special time is difficult for us as parents is that for most of us, we had very little one-on-one time with our parents where they were delighted with us and where we got to do exactly what we wanted. For most of us, our parents were working really hard, they were under stress, they had many things to think about, and they were not parented by parents who had the slack to shine approval on them and say, what do you want to do? I'll do it. It's like there's generations of people who really had to work really hard just to stay alive, that we are part of. And so, passing down all of that stress and all of the harsh treatment and all of the, worries about things, and the inability to really be with a child as a child, the tendency to want to control children, we inherit some of that, every single one of us. And so there's a thing that I call special time dread, where you think about doing special time and 20 things pop into your mind that are much more important than special time. And even if you accomplish all of those 20 things, when you think about special time again, it's like you will cook up another 20 things that you would much rather do. Go to the dentist, have your teeth drilled, get your car fixed, run down the block to do an errand. All these things feel much, much more inviting than doing special time, because there's a void back there, because we didn't get what we're trying to give. And when you didn't get what you're trying to give, there are going to be feelings in there. And what it looks like on the surface is, I need a cup of tea. Gosh, I need a smoke. I forgot to have a cup of coffee. I'm too cold. I don't want to do that. Or it also looks like falling asleep. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I've almost fallen asleep in the middle of trying to do special time with my children. And what's interesting there is, I think because of the void of personal, warm, accepting attention back there. I mean, I got good attention from my parents, but it wasn't special time very often. And so giving it is still hard for me at times. I still get distracted. But sometimes your mind just fuzzes out and you want to go to sleep, because the feelings that are under the surface there are actually pretty big and pretty heavy. And there's no one there to help you face those feelings while you're giving special time. So your brain can't go there. It wants to send you into sleep in order to avoid how difficult certain times were back there, how difficult it was to do without warm, loving parental attention in a relaxed way. So any of those things could happen to you, and what you want to do while you're working on your feelings about special time in your listening partnership, so that you don't pass out in the middle of it, then you can just limit special time to an amount of time that you really can manage to pay attention. So special time is effective if it's 5 minutes, it's effective if it's 10 minutes, it's effective if it's an hour. But I would never recommend trying to do special time for more than an hour. It's like it is a very special kind of attention, and you want to confine it so that you can really do it in a big and very thorough way, rather than sort of 80% do it for a long period of time. It's like just go ahead and concentrate, laser that delight onto your child rather than trying to endure 2 hours of special time. It's great to spend a whole day with a child. This is very, very helpful in particular for siblings who seem to get into it with one another. If you can take a half a day, or if you can take a whole day, start it with a chunk of special time, 20 minutes, a half hour, even an hour if you feel up to it. But still, the rest of the day you stay with them, and you're pretty much doing what they want to do, although you do take bathroom breaks and you do decide what they can and can't have for lunch, and it's not like whatever you want all day long. But it was that way in the beginning, and you just really work to keep building the relationship. That can make a huge difference in a child's ability to actually work through the disappointments at having to share your attention with other siblings. So when you do special time, or a one-on-one day or a one-on-one afternoon with a child, what you want to do again is save time and save energy for the end of the day. Don't blow your whole wad of energy on what you're doing together. Make sure that you've got some time and energy so that coming back to home where the siblings are, or where the challenging situation is, you can move in at the very first moment that they get upset with a sibling, or that they feel slighted, or that they feel like they're not getting what they want. You can set a limit. You can prevent them from being aggressive, or prevent them from throwing things, or whatever it is they do when they get upset. And you can listen. And because you've made the relationship safer and safer with all of that one-on-one time, and because you've noticed that it's hard, and you've actually worked on what might be hard about that day ahead of time, so that you've got a little extra listening capacity, you can get in and really help them with major disappointments and major upsets that they can cry through, and then actually be glad to have their brothers and their sisters, or glad to share the house with grandma and grandpa when they weren't expecting to need to do that, or whatever the challenge is at home. So special time can be difficult. You will most likely dread doing it. That's a feeling. It's not an indication that it's bad to do. That's a feeling you have. It comes from something in your past, because there really is nothing that hard about paying attention for 10 minutes to a child. What makes it hard is the load of feelings that we've never gotten a chance to express, the talking we've never gotten a chance to do about our childhoods, and that sits like a heavy weight on our attention. And that's what constitutes special time dread. It can be worked on, it can be talked about. You can get better and better at really allowing your child to use the time the way they want. If you've got someone to listen to you, you've got a chance to laugh and cry and have tantrums over there, so that your hurts are beginning to dissolve and you're becoming a lighter and more playful person.